Here we go again. Let's learn about composer Toru Takemitsu in 3 minutes. Toru Takemitsu was born on October 8, 1930, in Tokyo, Japan. His father died of tuberculosis when he was 7 years old. At age 14, Takemitsu was conscripted into military service. It was 1944, late in World War II. He was introduced to Western music during this time, listening to songs on a contraband gramophone. He also played instruments and sang at army bases. In 1945, his family home was destroyed in the firebombing of Tokyo, and Takemitsu was penniless during the immediate post war period. He took odd jobs but was frequently ill and suffered from tuberculosis. At the age of 16, Takemitsu decided that he would abandon standard education and become a composer. He took some composition lessons with Yasuji Kiyose and began to write. His first compositions were premiered in the early 1950s, but he continued to be plagued by poverty and illness. His friend Asaka Wakayama was a stabilizing force during this time, and they married in 1954. Takemitsu was attracted to the Western influences around him and repulsed by his impressions of wartime Japan. Influenced by Debussy and Messiaen, Takemitsu's music experimented with timbre, instrumentation, multimedia presentations, and electronics. His work started to gain international recognition with his 1957 Requiem for Strings, and he began to win composition awards. In 1964, Takemitsu traveled to Hawaii to give a series of lectures with John Cage. He later wrote, "In my own development, for a long period I struggled to avoid being Japanese, to avoid Japanese qualities. It was largely through my contact with John Cage that I came to recognize the value of my own tradition." He began to write music for traditional Japanese instruments. He wrote November Steps, which featured the biwa and the shakuhachi flute, for the New York Phil. He also wrote many film scores, as well as essays about composition and music theory. Takemitsu experimented with a vast array of styles and concepts, including serialism, indeterminacy, electronic music, and even popular music. Throughout his writing, there is a sense of luminosity, transparency, and reverence for silence that earned Takemitsu a place among the finest orchestrators of the late 20th century.